That's a great question, and I think that that's going to be one of the key discussion points over the next several years. You know, right now, when you look at the percentage of users of cloud, you know, we know ones like Salesforce.com and Google Apps and whatnot, but even the adoption of those are relatively small in this part of the world. I think fast forward 2015, 2018, where there's several different data points in the market, but one would suggest that 20 to 30% of people will be using some form of cloud services. That's going to be a key issue. But I think that there are two things that I see. One is I think there is legislation at a domestic market level driven by government around data security and information security, and I think that will govern perhaps how and where data is stored that's deemed sensitive and or critical. I think the other thing that businesses, particularly within financial markets, banking, etc., will face is around regulation and compliance and the need to actually store infrastructure and or data within the market that they're participating in. So I think that there are naturally some parameters that already exist, but the reality is I could procure services today from a Asian or US or European based infrastructure as a service provider or software as a service provider without any problems, and I can't see how that market will be regulated, and I don't believe it should be. I think that by opening up these sets of services and by making them of a more global orientation, it's actually going to make the market extremely competitive, and that's going to force the service provider to be effectively the best that they can be in terms of the products and capabilities and services that they provide to the markets they serve. Now, in that context, the consumer always wins. But I think what you'll see a wave of cloud services being offered to market from, again, your data center providers and your SIs and your telcos, and that will provide great choice. But I think in a very short period of time, you'll see a significant amount of consolidation in that industry, and what you'll see is several organisations emerge as being superior around either providing a broad range of cloud services and you're providing a discrete set of cloud services, be it communications as a service or infrastructure as a service. And even within those categories, there are several subcategories. On the infrastructure side, we know there's compute and there's I/O and there's store and whatnot. On the application side, it will be like going to a library and looking up genres of applications, and there will be literally hundreds of apps that an organisation or a consumer, an SMB, can procure. And in that context, they'll be able to look at which app represents the best value, what offers the best service level. And in the same way that we buy books from Amazon today, where you have a number of people that have provided feedback on a service and it's probably rated by stars, we'll see exactly the same thing with cloud. And so those benefits to the consumer come as a result of having a deregulated cloud market. I think it would be very difficult to regulate. That's on the demand side. I guess on the supply side, what an opportunity for those cloud service providers that can be truly global within their orientation. Particularly for the telcos. You consider a lot of the telcos that we work with in Asia, most of them have only ever participated in the domestic market in which they serve. Their business started fixed line, mobile line, now they've moved into IPTV, and all of a sudden, and they've always been restricted to local or domestic markets, and now, for the first time, they're able to offer a set of services that are truly global in nature. So I think these guys are pretty excited about it. And so if we can get over the data and regulatory and compliance type issues as it relates to the storing of critical information, I think this market will be unregulated, and it should be unregulated, and I think the consumer is the one that will benefit.